Another week, more pickems. Let's take a look at last week. Vancouver and Houston match went okay. I still have not seen the Justice Atlanta Reign match. I don't know how that happened. Boston letting me down. The Dallas Fuel, excellent reverse sweep by them. Excelsior doing Excelsior things. Vancouver being entirely predictable. Houston nearly lost to Florida. That was pretty interesting. San Francisco being San Francisco. And Toronto destroying Paris. Seems about right. Now, this week, we start with the APAC region. I have no idea what's gonna happen. So we're just gonna type in. I want the Philly and Shanghai match to be amazing. So I'm gonna put that as a 3-2. I think Guangzhou will beat the Valiant 3-1. Although the Valiant might win. They've got a lot of new players and such. I will, unless otherwise, I will predict, unless I truly believe otherwise, I will always predict Hangzhou to win. I firm belief in the, well, they're not beating the Dragons. That's not happening. Yeah. Chengdu versus Guangzhou could be cool, but the Hunters will probably win. I think Guangzhou might. See, I haven't seen any of these teams, so I don't want to predict any 3-0s, but I'll go with Seoul Valiant 3-0. Fusion Guangzhou is a double points match? This seems like a 3-1 scenario to me. It could be a 3-0 from Fusion, to be honest. I feel like Philly versus Shanghai would have been a better one to do. We'll do Spark 3-1, and we'll do Chengdu. We'll do 3-2 Chengdu Seoul. Until I see these teams play, I have no idea what any of them are going to be bringing to the table. It's going to be mainly on what I saw last year, even though their rosters are completely different. And basically what I personally don't, and my trust level of the team, and how I personally feel about the team. Because I can see Spark losing to Dynasty. I don't want it to happen, but I can see it, because I like the Hangzhou Spark. Yeah. I think Valiant could win against... They honestly could probably beat the Spark, because the Spark have always had bad management, and they could probably beat Guangzhou as well, potentially, maybe. I don't know the team... I don't know who's on the teams in the APAC region, so I just kind of breezed through those. Paris versus Washington, I feel like Washington should just win the game. They should just win the game. I'm going to give Paris a map. Purely, no, I'm not going to give Paris a map. We're not. They should win the game. Period. They should win the game. Toronto versus Dallas could be quite nice. And Florida versus New York could be cool. I feel like Florida's going to win. And then New York will probably take a map. New York, London, Vancouver, and Paris are all kind of like bad teams right now. And Florida's just kind of above them. Houston should definitely beat London, and they should probably... Well, they should beat London. They should beat London. I'm going to give London a map. Because I feel like they can exploit London in at least one map. As for Fuel versus Toronto, I don't know. I feel, in my heart of hearts, I feel like the Fuel should win. But Toronto have played fairly well. If I go up to their Week 2 performance, they beat Paris. And then in Week 1, they did lose to Justice. But then they came back and... Oh, no, wait, no. No, yeah, they beat Houston. They beat Houston. I feel like Dallas will probably win. I'll give... You know what? I'll make that a 5-mapper. I feel like Toronto might make it interesting. Nah, I'm going to do 3-1. I have a hard time. San Francisco and LA Gladiators should be... I'm going to say 3-0 Toronto versus Boston. I feel like Toronto has looked like a better team than a lot of these bottom teams, just purely mechanically and strategically. So I think they'll beat Boston pretty handily, 3-0. San Francisco and LA Gladiators could be a banger of a match. The LA Gladiators are very strong right now, and the San Francisco Shock are undefeated, actually. Although all of the Shock's wins aren't against particularly great teams. They beat the Excelsior. They did beat the Outlaws. They beat the Spitfire, and they beat the Eternal. Gladiators beat New York. Gladiators beat Boston. The Gladiators did not beat the Fuel. They got reverse swept, although they did almost beat the Fuel. And I think that's it. So the Gladiators versus the Shock could be really good. I think until the Shock lose, I think I'm going to predict the Shock. They have 4 wins. One of their wins was against a decent team in the Houston Outlaws. I'm going to predict it a 3-2, though. I think this one goes the distance. They're both very good teams. They're both going to fight tooth and nail. Atlanta Reign, I think, should easily beat Vancouver. The Dallas Fuel should easily beat Paris. And to be entirely honest, the Justice should really beat Boston. This is what should happen. You would expect with Dallas Fuel's roster, they should be able to easily outmatch Paris on pretty much anything. Atlanta Reign is going to be facing probably the worst team in the league right now, which is Vancouver. And the Justice actually beat some pretty decent... They had some pretty decent results themselves. I mean, what? They beat the Reign? I mean, they did not beat the Fuel. They did beat New York. And I think they lost. No, that's it. But if I remember correctly, New York played against Vancouver, didn't they? Yeah, they did. And New York won 3-1. I think that's just a really good day for... It's just... I feel like that's going to be a really bad day of Overwatch. It's just going to be stomps, I feel. It's not entertaining at all. So I'll probably save this. I think this is probably good. I'm not gonna go over each match again and say which team's gonna win, but I'll just sort of scroll back up and you can kind of see which teams I put to win. I really hope both of my double points matchups go exactly the way that I want them to. The first match really should have been the double points. Shanghai versus Philly, those are both probably going to be really good teams going at it, trading blows. I hope I wake up for that game. That would be nice. Alright. That's it for my predictions for this week. Save the Eastern region, and we shall save the Western region. And as far as the leaderboards go, position 482. Not too bad. Alright. Peace out.